Maybe I'm crazy, but I've figured out why everyone's shooting so well in the bubble. Solved it.
Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
Welcome to the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. Kind of a really extreme week we've had. A lot of emotions, a lot going on, a lot of sad news, obviously. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, just an unbelievable, incredible talents. That was a hard night for me. I gotta admit, there's been a lot going on in the world. It's been really stressful for a lot of people, and that one definitely broke me. You never know what people are going through. Be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. I think is a good message and learn for all of us from that. He was a straight warrior to go through all that and give us all that amazing art. Rest in peace, King T'Challa, and rest in peace to the legendary John Thompson, basketball coach, unbelievable mentor of young men. Allen Iverson tweeted about him and the impact that he had in his life. He just affected so many people and such a massive part of sports history, and just touched so many careers and lives. So rest in peace, Coach John Thompson. And with that said, we are going to talk to Corey Brewer, who was in the bubble, Sacramento King. He was in the bubble playing with the Kings, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what life in the bubble is like, what they have been going through, the players, with all the emotions of the strike and all the pressures coming with, talking about social activism and social issues from the bubble, how that's affected all of them. Get some predictions from him as well. We'll talk to Heller and Donnie today, but let's get started with Corey Brewer. I'm very excited to have NBA vet Corey Brewer on the podcast today. Corey, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're staying safe and staying cool. It's hot out here right now in these summer streets. But you're out of the bubble now, so you've been in the heat in Florida for a while. What's it like to be home, be free of the bubble?
Oh man, it's great actually. I just got to come home and see my family. My wife, my little boys. I just had a baby. He's 5 months. So, a 6-year-old and a 5-month-old. It was great to come home and see those guys.
What is that like being in the bubble? Congratulations, by the way. Being away from your family. For me, when the bubble first, the idea first came about, my concern initially was with the younger guys, how are they going to be able to chill for, a couple months? But, we had been in the pandemic for a few months at that point. So everyone was kind of starting to get used to, quarantine. But for guys like you that have a wife and kids, that's a whole nother level of stress that, being away from them, it's kind of unprecedented because it's not like that during the season.
Yeah, that was the toughest part of the bubble, to be honest. The bubble wasn't too bad. The first couple of days, once you go to quarantine, you have to stay in your room. But after that, you can move around a little bit. You can go downstairs, restaurants. They have stuff for us to do. We went bowling a couple times, went fishing. So you actually have some things to do. But the aspect of not seeing your family, that was the toughest part for me. I think for all those older guys, people that have family, that was the tough part because you can only basically FaceTime. So I spent a lot of time FaceTiming, and that's kind of what got me through it.
What is it like? Is it like being just away at basketball camp? Does it really feel like you're just living at work? Because like you said, there's fishing, there's bowling, there's restaurants, but we have no concept of what this is like. It's just like living on a resort.
It's like being at a basketball camp. I feel like it's like being at a summer camp. You basically just play basketball. You go back to your room. Guys play video games, but you're always with your teammates. You usually eat with your teammates. It's just basketball camp, man. It's like a bunch of older guys at basketball camp, just playing basketball and hanging out. Because that's all you can really do.
Would you say that it's brought teams a lot closer, or are guys kind of starting to kind of pick at each other?
Nah, for sure. I think it brings you closer just because you're around guys and you actually start hanging out with guys you normally wouldn't hang out with, I'd say. So you're hanging out with all your teammates, so you get to know everybody on your team. So I think it makes teams closer because you get to know the best player to the worst player because you're all together. You get to know everybody. even the coaches, you start being cool with your coaches because you see them a lot. So everybody's starting to. I think everybody gets closer.
What were you most apprehensive about, other than obviously being away from your family going into the bubble?
I just didn't know how safe it was going to be. At first I was kind of like, am I really going to leave my family? I just had a baby, and get COVID, because COVID is running rapid. It's all over the place right now. And I live in Houston, so it was really bad in Houston for a while. So I was nervous about could I contract COVID. But once I got there and all the precautions the NBA was taking and everything that's done, like I felt safe. So it kind of put me at ease.
What's it like actually during games on the court? Because I had no idea what to expect. I felt like, I don't know, I guess I imagined there'd be like giant curtains or something like covering the stands, but I didn't know what to visually imagine it was going to look like. But honestly, after the first game, it kind of looked like a video game-ish, the first game, and then I totally got used to it. And now it's like a new normal. Like, obviously, once the fans get back, we'll all snap back into it. But it really doesn't bother me aesthetically at all to watch the games. And with the crowd noise, it's easy to consume from my end as a viewer. So what is it like there? Does it feel like a regular game? Obviously, like, taking the fans out of it, do you get used to it?
At first, it was weird at first, just because we've always played with fans. It was different once you got out there. But I think the NBA and everybody did a good job. Like once they put the virtual fans, it kind of made it it was kind of cool. You could see people, and then once you start playing, you get in basketball mode. Like when you're out there on the court, you kind of forget that there's no fans because you're really engaged and you're trying to win a game. You're trying to follow the scouting report. You're trying to do all the right things. And the biggest thing is you just can hear. You can hear the coaches talk and you can hear players talk more. So the game kind of gets a little easier, but it's a little harder if you're offensively because defensive guys kind of hear calls now. But after the first couple of games, I kind of think it was good that we had preseason games, I guess you could say, or scrimmages. Because after the first couple of games, I think guys kind of locked in and it is what it is. You get to play basketball.
Now, it's been kind of crazy, some of the offensive performances that we've seen. Like you mentioned, the defensive guys can hear the calls. But there's been some people going off in the bubble. Now, I have a theory, so I want to ask you about it. Because this always happens with the NCAA tournament. Once they get into, the Final Four, they're playing in these huge stadiums and the depth perception changes. So my theory is, obviously they're great, amazing players, right? But they are having some pretty crazy numbers. Is there something to, you're playing in a smaller gym, you don't have fans behind the basket, you're playing in the same exact gym over and over again, that the depth perception for the basket is changing. Am I crazy?
Nah, yeah, I totally agree with you. When you're in a smaller gym, things, you see everything. It's a little easier. It's just like when you're in a high school gym. Like you can go shoot in a high school gym. I can go shoot in a high school gym and feel like I can't miss. And then when you get in a bigger arena, it's kind of like, whoa, like it changes. And there's no fans, so there's no distractions. You're just really out there playing basketball like you're in the gym by yourself. So I think guys really, it's easier for guys to lock in depth perception. It's a lot easier. And you're playing in the same gym all the time. Like it's like being at home every game. Like you got a home game. So if you play well at home, now like the game, you just get used to it. And guys are getting hot. Like Jamal Murray has been amazing in these playoffs. Like he's going 40 and 50 every night. Like nobody's seen that coming. You got a guy like T.J. Warren goes for 50. Like, the basket is big for some of these guys. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's I thought that might have something to do with it because I'm like, you know what? This is a very different experience for them. But you get in your little LA Fitness that you're at every week. You just be thinking you can put it in from anywhere. But it's a familiarity that you get used to. Like there is no home court advantage, but in a weird way. I mean, like we've had games Donovan Mitchell go for 50, Jamal Murray go for 40, vice versa. Like these guys are going off, and I think it's a little bit to your point. Also, like you're playing in the same gym.
You're in the same gym. You get comfortable. Like you can get to your spots. You shooting the same shots over and over. Like these guys are superstars. Come on, like
yeah,
guys are getting 30 and 40 in regular. Now it's like when they see a couple go in, it's like the gym's smaller, the basket gets bigger. And when the guy gets hot, now like you can't. It's tough to stop guys in the NBA now. Like man, if a guy gets hot, they're shooting from half court basically. Like Dame was shooting from half court. Come on, man. Like this stuff is Like basketball is getting crazy when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's. Is there anything from the bubble that you'd like to see them keep?
Man, I wouldn't say it's like I enjoy my time, but you want to be in front of your fans. Like you want that real basketball feeling that you're used to. So, but
No, but I
like
mean, there's still a lot of things they tried. Obviously, like some different camera angles. I actually think that the virtual fans is kind of cool. I don't know where they would like put that in an arena with regular fans, but I think it's a cool thing because a lot of people can't actually go to games. Obviously, fans are a huge part of the game, as we know, but most people watch the game on TV. So I thought that was a cool element. Obviously, the social justice, names being on the back of the jerseys. Like, there's little things that they added that I think they could keep when everything gets back to normal. Let's bring the fans back, though, for sure.
Yeah, sure. But I definitely think we should keep the social justice stuff, like just keep the movement going and keep doing what we're doing to show awareness to everybody. Because, we have a huge platform and we're the NBA. Guys watch the NBA all over the world. So we're really shedding light on what's going on.
So let's pivot to that for a second. There, obviously, the Bucks protested the game, and then there was a moment where there was a talk about possibly canceling the season. Was there a point where you felt like the season is definitely going to be like they're going to stop playing?
I never thought the season was going to stop just because the platform's too big right now. Everybody's watching the playoffs. Like people are watching the playoffs. Like if we stop, you can still go. We can go to our social media and try to get our message out there. You could protest, but there's nothing like people watching the game and they see you talking, or they see a commercial, or they just see what we're trying to do to get our message out there. I think it's better if those guys play, and the message is going to really be heard.
Yeah, I agree. I was glad that the season did not stop. I think that the platform the NBA has is massive right now. And, to all the people who are saying like, oh, the ratings are down or nobody's watching the NBA, like, okay. Like I'm very much in the camp of if you don't watch the NBA, you don't watch the NBA, right? Like some people don't watch hockey, whatever. That's fine. That's your preference. But if you are an NBA fan, you're watching the NBA. Like, I'm sorry, there's no replacement for that. I'm not trying to hear it. And you are obviously watching because nobody complains about things they don't do. Like, I don't complain about badminton because I don't play badminton. Like, I don't watch it. So why it's not affecting me whatever they do, like, great, I don't watch it. You're obviously watching. That's why you're upset about it, if that's what's triggering you.
Oh, sure. People are definitely watching. And also, people got to understand, we had to play games at noon, at 1 o'clock. So it was a totally different times. So people were actually at work. So ratings probably were down a little bit. But now once playoffs are starting and getting back to normal, these 8 o'clock games, 7 o'clock games, people are going to be watching basketball. So they can say whatever they want about the ratings. And like you said, if you watch basketball, you're watching it. You're watching the NBA.
We don't believe you. You're watching basketball. But that said, there's a heaviness around the country right now, obviously, with everything that's going on with the pandemic. And then, of course, the movement, we're all talking and having these really hard conversations. And for the Black community, it can be very, heavy and tiring and exhausting and saddening. And then, we're seeing these things on television and we're seeing them on social media and we're losing people in the community. It's a lot. So that's for a regular person who's not in the bubble is stressful. What is it like for you guys, the players who are in the middle of this conversation internationally, but of course, most importantly here in our country, being criticized and being told you're not really in these communities anymore, or you have privilege, just being criticized from every angle that your message is not needed or necessary or real, or it's liberal propaganda or whatever. Like, how are you guys all mentally dealing with having the burden of keeping the conversation going while also playing basketball?
It's definitely tough. It's mentally taxing. You got to think about a guy like LeBron James. He's really trying to play basketball, but then he's trying to use his platform for people to vote, to stop the social injustice. It's a lot going on with these guys. I was there. I understood. It's tough. We're really in a bubble, so we can't leave and do anything personally, but all we have is our voice on social media, or just to do our interviews to get the message out there. But people can say what they want. It's been happening for a long time, man. This has been happening a long time. It's just finally now coming to light. So we have to get the message out there. We grew up in these neighborhoods. Like, we know what it's like. You can say what you want now, but we still have family that's going through this. We still know people who's going through this. So it's still hitting us the same way if we were in the community still, because we are in the community. That's why we are trying to give back. You want to get out of the community so you can give back. So that's why all these guys are doing what they're doing. That's why all the guys were at the protests. Like, we have to get the message out. Like, we want this thing to change. Like I have young kids, so I don't want them to still be talking about this 30 years from now. I don't want my kids to be going through this whole thing over, like social injustice. Like, we need change. No, we need change now. That's why it's not going to happen right away, but we got to use our voice for it to happen eventually.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you did in the bubble for that and keeping that conversation going. I hope you enjoyed being able to play basketball again. I know that was probably hard for you guys in quarantine not to be able to do what you do every day, but congratulations on the new baby. Enjoy being back with your family. And I hate asking you for a prediction, but, I'm leaning Clippers-Bucks. Do you have a prediction?
Ooh. I like Clippers Bucks, but I don't know, man. Miami's tough.
Listen, Miami is my team. Okay. I loved it. I was losing my mind yesterday, but I try to be like a realistic fan. So I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I want to be accused of being a fangirl, although I really don't care. But Miami might pull it off.
Yeah, I think Miami can get to the finals just because the way they play. Like, they're going to give the Bucks problems because they play D and they play together. Like, they're a real team. And if a team's going to beat the Bucks, I think Miami can beat the Bucks. So I think Miami has a chance to get to the finals. And then I like the Lakers, man. It's tough. It's tough. I like the Clippers too, but it's tough to go against the Lakers, man. Until somebody really stops LeBron, like it's hard to say the Lakers want to make it to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers make the finals. I just feel like the Clippers are deeper. And in the bubble, we've really seen depth is really almost more important than it is during a regular season situation, because you obviously rely on your stars, but some of the stars been having some dud nights and the bench has had to step up, or just injuries. Like, Toronto's bench goes out and scores 100 points.
Yeah, I'm going one of the LA teams are going to get to the finals. That's tough. It's hard to choose one. Like, right. 'Cause I like the Clippers a lot. Like, because their bench is great. Like, I love Lou Will. Montrezl Harrell's my guy. Like, and Trez, once he gets back to being Trez, then I'm thinking the Clippers really are going to be tough to beat. And Patrick Beverley's hurt. So yeah. They aren't 100%. So I think, that's tough. You're right. It's going to be – that's a coin flip. Like, it's hard to choose. It's a coin flip. And I like – with the Clippers 100% healthy, definitely they can get to the final.
Well, it's going to be great basketball either way. Appreciate you so much for taking some time. Congratulations again on the baby. Enjoy your family and stay safe.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
With it. With it. Quit it.
What?
With it.
We about to turn up in this bitch.
Hello, Heller.
What's up, Joy? There's no neon behind you. You're not in your usual spot.
I'm not. I'm at my brother's in Miami, where it's hot to quite hot, warm.
It's cool down here, which was much needed.
Yeah, well, I love it, but it's humid here. But we are in his nice office, and what am I winning or quitting today?
Okay, so lots going on in the world of sports and the world of the world. Let's get into it. NBA players might be in the Disney bubble world, but they are acutely aware that the rest of us aren't exactly living in a fairy tale out here in the world. The Milwaukee Bucks, from the state where Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back by police, and a 17-year-old wannabe militia boy killed 2 protesters and injured another with his long gun, started a wave when they decided to not play Game 5 of their playoff series. An inspiring show of solidarity, the rest of the NBA and the NHL postponed playoff games. The WNBA, MLS, and tennis all suspended play for a period as well. Joy. The NBA strike made waves. Now let's surf them. Wit it or quit it.
With it, I know everyone's immediate reaction to the strike. By the way, not a boycott, a strike.
Yeah, Braun.
I mean, it's okay. It's the only problem with calling it a boycott is then you kind of have to explain that you're not actually boycotting the product because you are the product. It's a strike.
And you don't want a strike to be like a labor strike, like when the season I get it. It's tough.
Yeah. So it's a strike. But it was very impactful. Like, I don't understand these people who are like, well, what's it going to change? It doesn't change anything. Do nothing. Like, no, it actually did exactly what it's supposed to do, which is to
Right.
get you talking about it, which you just did. Winner, winner. That's how it works. So, yes, it was effective. Yes, it
Talk
got
about it.
everyone's attention. Yes, everyone was talking about it. Every show had no choice but to talk about it because it's an NBA playoffs. It's not a random game in the middle of the season. Like, this is a very, very big deal. Not
Yep.
only was it a playoff game, it then caused, as you mentioned, a wave of other games around other sports to be canceled. And it's all for the same conversation. We're tired of having the same conversation. I started talking about it on Twitter, as I am wont to do. That, I'm really exhausted with people just saying there's not a problem. I hear these people all day long. We all do, right? Like, you're tired of talking about this. We're tired of sports and just politics, and like that. We had that conversation last week. I think it was very effective. That's sports and politics and social issues have always been together. They always will be, because not only are athletes human beings, but they have huge platforms, and they are usually in the position to speak about social issues that not only affect them, but affect their families, affect people that look like them, or just, they're empathetic human beings who care about other people other than themselves, which I understand is a very difficult concept for most people these days, but it is exactly how we are supposed to be living our lives, based off of, a majority of religion and basically any moral standard that generally normal people have. But I digress.
Right.
The point is, all of you people who are out there complaining, you people who are out there complaining about,
a lot of complainers.
They're tired of seeing this. They're not going to watch. They're boycotting. What is the conversation? Blah, blah, blah. What is the solution? It's always the same thing for me, right? Every time we have these conversations, every time there's a boycott, every time there's a protest, every time it hits the news, every time players go out and take a knee, and then you say there's no problem, you have made this conversation go longer. You yourself are being counterproductive to the very thing you say you want. You want this conversation to go away? Cool. Come on, take a seat. Let me explain to you what I've gone through in my life. No, contrary to popular belief, I did not receive a How to Manipulate the American People handbook at media school. They don't actually have those. Let you behind the curtain a little bit. There's no masterful conspiracy in the media to control your minds with our liberal propaganda. It's just things that I've been through in my life, and people who are close to me going through it. And then, people that look like me and people that are in my community where I grew up and friends that I have, experiences that we've all had that we're all telling you about. Do you think everyone just wants to sit around and talk about racism all day long? No! We want to enjoy our lives and our families and our time here on earth. But instead, you, the person who keeps saying there's no problem, keep making us have to continue to have this conversation. So you're going to do yourself a favor. If you'd like this conversation to end, not because you care, not because you're not racist,
right,
not because you want the world to be a better place, none of those things, because you clearly don't. But just because you selfishly don't want to talk about it anymore, just come ask for solutions. Okay, I give up, right? What is it that you need, Black community? What is it that you're asking for, women? What is it that you're asking for, LGBTQ people? Like, what is it? I'm tired of talking about it. I just want to fix it so I can go back to sitting on yelling at kids for letting their ball bounce on my lawn. That can happen for you.
Yep.
And all of your friends that complain about the same thing. So even if you have no motivation other than your own selfish greed and your little bubble being disrupted, that should be enough for you to say, you know what? There's a problem.
That's a pretty compelling argument you just made. I never thought about it like that. That's pretty good.
You know what? I'm a solution-oriented person. Mm-hmm. Contrary to popular belief. I actually do want things to change. I actually do want things to be better.
Right. But that's do people really, people clearly don't want things to change. There's some people that are right,
and that's what
fighting.
It comes down to, right? Like, it's all of this, all the athletes are talking about, right? Protests, Breonna Taylor, WNBA, NHL, MLB, MLS, NASCAR, everyone. We're all talking about the same thing, right? Let's just make the world a better place for everyone. And in order for that to happen, things have to change. People don't like change. In general, people who have enjoyed a pretty comfortable existence especially don't like change, because that change may, in their mind, mean that things could possibly get uncomfortable for them, or all the advantages that they don't want to admit that they have could be infringed upon, or there could be more people who have an opportunity to, benefit from the things that they've benefited from. So then maybe I won't actually be able to benefit from them anymore. No, I don't think I like change. And that's really what this is coming down to. Do I think that everyone in the world is a raging racist? Obviously not. No one, in fact, is saying that, though. So what is the protest about? What is the NBA doing? What are the players doing by boycotting a game? They're using the power that they have on the platform that they have to do exactly what happened, which is get you to talk. And that's what they did. Because if you were on the internet complaining, or you're on your little Facebook complaining, or you were calling your friends, you were doing exactly what they wanted you to do. Pay attention. Now, the next step, touching someone's heart or changing someone's mind, or actually maybe moving someone to live their life in a different way and convince other people around them to live their lives in different ways, that's the next step, which I hope and pray that we get to. But the strike was absolutely effective. It did everything it needed to do. I'm really glad they decided to continue playing, because they needed to keep the pressure on, and being there on television in this time is a massive platform, and I'm really glad they did not let that go, because while I do think social media is powerful, it's not as powerful as television, and it's not as powerful as being in everyone's face, having these conversations, wearing the jerseys, doing the post-game interviews, and playing incredible basketball. And it just shows the power of solidarity, that when they boycotted the game, of course, WNBA is always about that life. So they
special
didn't
shots
play.
to WNBA. I watched their whole rollout, impromptu but planned. It really was a beautiful cap to that first night of sort of uncertainty that we went through with it.
Yeah, it was. They're really the best with it. They're striking. MLB, baseball is so powerful. Like I was talking about Colin, I mean, always been at the forefront of race issues in this country. I just thought it was an amazing show of power. And I'm so glad that athletes are in this generation realizing solidarity and using your platform is so effective. And you're right under their skin. You're under it. I promise you, you're under it. So just don't let up. We're not close. I don't believe we're close, but we are making progress.
Right.
And I'm never going to get tired of telling people that they're wrong. That I will never get tired of.
Well, I'm tired. I'd rather people be right than you be able to tell them that they're
I'd much
wrong.
rather people be right. But I'm saying, as far as continuing to have to move this conversation forward, I'm happy to play that role.
You tell them, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. If these things, these systematic issues that we have in our country were easy to fix, someone would have fixed them already.
Well, and it's not that, it seems like a cop-out to say, okay, it's not going to be fixed overnight. Okay, well, then what's the solution? It's like I said before, the first step is that everyone has to get on the same page.
Has to understand. And
agree that there is a problem. There's so many people out there who are still this is not a problem. This doesn't happen. It's not a big deal. There's not that many bad cops. There's not that many people being shot by cops. As long as those conversations are still happening, we've got a lot of work to do. We can't even get to the fixing of things until we're never going to get everyone until we get the majority of people agreeing we have something we need to fix.
Right. And, NBA players convince little white kids they can dunk, so they can definitely convince them to treat everyone equally. You know what I'm saying? Right. I threw down some really nice dunks on that 7.5-foot hoop in my backyard.
Listen, I've been thinking I can dunk my whole life. I'm 5'2", so yeah.
There you go. That's the power of the NBA. So let's stay there. Moving on to a different little lane here. As much as I enjoyed the Rockets' loss to OKC, the forced Game 7 in that series last night, the Lakers probably appreciated it even more, because those Rockets are going to be tired if they make it through, and if not, the Thunder's nice. But anyway, you, Joy Taylor, probably didn't even notice, because you were so hypey after the Heat won Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semis over Giannis and the Bucks. I mean, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
an amazing start.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So you're gonna give us some unbiased picks, for the second round. But let's get there with this. Joy, the Bucks are not winning the title this year. Win it or quit it.
Oh, WIT IT. But I've never felt that they were going to win the title this year. They don't have enough for anybody who comes out of the West. It's starting to look like they might not even make it out of the East. Because the Heat, I don't want to get crazy. I'm going to be cocky Heat fan, but, we did look good.
Look real good.
We did look good. But I'm not going to get crazy.
Wow.
I'm willing to be, I'm willing to remove my bias for predictions as much as I would like for the Heat to beat Milwaukee. If Milwaukee can get it together, I do think that in a 7-game series, they will win. Now, they didn't look like that last night, but again, it's a 7-game series. Everyone was panicking about the Blazers, everyone was panicking about the Mavs, and, here we are. So, that I think that's going to happen in the series. I do think it will be a long series. I just think that Milwaukee will end up taking that series. Now, however, I don't know about the Raptors. I don't really like to overreact to one game, but the Celtics looked really good.
Yeah.
They looked good. And so if they keep playing like that, I do think that the Celtics will take that series. Now, I originally had the Raptors. I kind of want to, I don't know. I don't want to get crazy. You know what?
Get crazy. What you talking about?
I just don't know. I don't like moving off of my predictions, But
and
the Celtics just look so good. The Celtics look good.
Yeah, but it's just one game. I'll sell the Raptors back to you. I still have faith in the Raptors. I think in terms of team, they're the most complete. There's guys that you haven't even heard of that can come in there and give them valuable minutes because Nick Nurse is coaching them up real nice. If the Celtics had Gordon Hayward still, I'd be like, yeah, okay, they dominated and they have all, but is Semi Ojeleye going to have to get in there and get minutes? Like, I don't know. So,
yeah. Okay, you sold me. I'm going to stick with the Raptors. I'm not going to overreact to one game. I'm going to
right.
stick with the Bucks. Now, Bucks and Raptors, if that ends up being the case, if it ends up being Bucks and Raptors, I do think that I'm going to go with the Bucks in that series. If it's Bucks and Celtics, I don't know. We'll have to revisit. I want to see how these two series go. So I'm not going to go that far, but I'm going to take the Bucks. I'm going to stick with the Bucks, and I'm going to stick with the Raptors. Although I feel more strongly that my Celtics-Raptors prediction will be wrong than I do the Heat and Bucks. I say that as a Heat fan. Now,
right. You want the Heat to win, though, right?
Of course I do, but I also want to be realistic about the situation. Yeah. Now, in the Western Conference, we've got a whole other situation, okay? Because whatever the hell is going on with OKC is beyond my comprehension and explanation. They weren't even supposed to make the playoffs, okay? So they're playing on pure grit and heart, and Houston didn't have Westbrook for 3 games. They clearly, obviously needed him. James Harden is exhausted. I don't know what's going to happen here. I really actually do not know who's going to win this series anymore. I thought Houston was a sleeper team, and I was completely wrong about that. So, I don't know. I guess I'll stick with Houston, but, sure, I don't feel strong about it. So, Houston, I'm going to take in that series. I'm going to stick with the Jazz in the Nuggets Jazz series, which has honestly been the best series of the bubble.
Those dudes are shooting, baby.
Incredible show of
and emotional,
basketball.
too.
Unbelievable. Just young stars playing at the highest level, pure, utter entertainment. The interview by Jamal Murray after the game, all of it is just, we're blessed. Thank you.
For real. Shamanamahamaha. This is wonderful.
Yes.
This is wonderful.
So I'm going to stick with the Jazz in that series. I'm going to stick with Houston in this series. And, it's Clippers-Lakers in the next one. I mean, the Jazz do not have anything for the Clippers. And Houston is going to be exhausted. They'll probably get swept.
Yeah. I think the Thunder are going to get through and then get destroyed.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
If the Thunder get through, they're going to lose in 5. May get swept as well, but just because I don't know, I have no explanation for the Thunder. If they do get through, I'll give them a game. But they're going to lose to the Lakers, and the Clippers are going to be the Jazz as well.
Joy, there's so many good, amazing players. You said Jamal Murray, obviously Spider Mitchell's going crazy. Book's out of the bubble now, but he was going off. There's so many amazing, young, exciting players and teams, but I can't believe that it took Chris Paul getting banished to Oklahoma City for me to learn to love that guy. I used to hate that guy. That guy's the most cantankerous asshole on the court I've ever seen in my entire life. But boy, when he's sticking it back to Harden and them, I appreciate it a millionfold. And he's holding down HBCUs, and he's taking meetings and doing all this crazy stuff. Shouts to him and Iguodala for their role in the leadership of all of this. But I like Chris Paul now, Joy. That's how good the NBA is.
It's amazing. It really is. It really is. Man, I just feel like I really feel grateful for the bubble. And again, I just feel sad. Like if you're not into the NBA, like I just feel bad for you. It's like it's so good.
There's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world, and the NBA has really been the whole time. It even got dicey there with the when they went on strike. I was like, I don't know, this thing might not actually work out, and then it somehow came through even better.
Yep.
So yeah, cheers to them. Maybe Adam Silver should be in the bubble, but besides that, I'm with it.
They're crushing. What's up, Donnie? What's in high key, low key this week?
What's up? All right, high key, thanks to Kirk Franklin and the rest of God's property, practices in New England look like they've reached a higher ground. Low key, DJ Cam Newton clearly took over the playlist, right? Or have the Patriots always been this musically yoked and we were just not paying attention?
Musically yoked. The reality is, low key, if you're not musically yoked, it could be a real problem.
Yeah, that is very true. It reflects on you as a person, I think.
And also, yeah, but like, I mean, if you're in a relationship or a situation or like a consistent environment,
You got to be equally.
right, where the music is not equally yoked, it can be very problematic. Like you go into, you're going on a weekend trip with some people and they're like, oh, we do not like that kind
We're on
of
different
music.
pages.
Really
that's
testing
a real
really
problem.
quickly. I don't think that they've always been musically yoked. I have to imagine that this is Cam's work, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Kirk Franklin's Stomp is a throwback. I mean, what is that? That's got to be like 92, maybe.
Ooh, I think you're throwing it a little bit further back. I'm gonna say that's like mid to late 90s. Like
I gotta see. I don't know.
pull up the research.
I gotta do some research, but I really feel like that is because remember that was like one of the original Kirk Franklin God's Property albums.
Yeah, that's what put him on the scene, I feel like.
Let me see. I don't know. We're 97. Okay, you're right. Not that far
97.
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So still,
It feels like it's been around forever, though. It's a classic.
it is. It really
And
is.
they were playing the remix, I heard, which is, in my opinion, the better of the two because it has the stomp, like that banger still quality to it, but it has like a little bit of a chillness to it too, which I think is perfect for warm-ups, which is what they were doing.
Oh yeah. And listen, like I think the thing about gospel music, which like I'm assuming you were raised on gospel music. I was raised on gospel music. It just is timeless. Like, and if you know the songs, you know the songs. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. If it's a party, if it's warm-ups, if it's a long drive, it's church, it's a
Anytime,
wedding.
anywhere.
Like, everyone gets on the same page as to what kind of energy we're supposed to be having at this particular moment. And yeah, so I personally like working out to gospel music. Obviously, not all gospel music is equipped for the high energy that you need. But a good gospel playlist will keep you going. So I appreciated it, and I love all of these new little Cam sprinkles that the Patriots are getting. Like he's gonna be a part of the Patriot way, but he's gonna do it with flavor. Like he's gonna do the press conference and not say anything and say he has to earn the starting position, even though Jarrett Stidham is clearly doing terrible in camp, and Ryan Hoyer's a career backup quarterback for the most part. He's gonna say the right thing, but he's gonna do it while wearing one of his signature hats. Like you're just gonna get get Cam, not the pod Cam. You're just gonna get sprinkles of Cam flavor all over this Patriot situation, and I'm here for it.
All right, high key, Luka Doncic and Marcus Morris don't like each other. I mean, that's just obvious. Low key, after Marcus's ejection in Game 6, the Clippers are starting to get that label "dirty team." But me, as a bad boy zealot, I say they should embrace that label. Embrace it.
Oh, I mean, I am here for the bad boy Clippers. First of all, the Clippers have always had this kind of blue collar, we're the other team, We're not the fancy Showtime Lakers. We're like the hardworking, team of the people. That's the
Yeah,
Clippers
gritty
energy
alternative.
anyway. Right. So, that version of the Clippers with like Blake Griffin and all that, like it was fun, but it wasn't really like the Clippers that you're seeing now. I feel like that fits the Clippers vibe and like
Yeah.
culture more. Like we are a little tougher. We all are a little rougher. We're gonna go a little bit further. And that's fine. Like, look, Marcus Morris, you can feel how you want about like the play. I think he stepped on his ankle on purpose. Okay, like I understand he said that he didn't, but it's kind of tough to argue that when you're then getting into it with Luka, like a decade
Yeah,
later.
the evidence starts stacking up at that point.
Yeah,
Doesn't
and
help
like,
you.
but it's okay. Like, that's basketball. Everything doesn't have to be finesse,
Yeah.
flashy. Like, we can have a little bit of rough. We can get a little
Mm-hmm.
scrappy. It's okay as long as
Yeah.
it doesn't get out of control and no one gets hurt, which no one got hurt. Luca can take it. He's a big boy. He clearly handles himself. So I'm here
Yeah,
for it. I
exactly.
like the attitude. Everybody doesn't need to have the same identity and fit in this box and follow the rules. Like that's what sports is about. Everybody has their own culture, identity, swag, energy, and the Clippers are great on top of it. Now, if they were terrible at doing this, then it might be like,
Yeah, then you want to have some change. It's not
you probably
working.
want to focus
But
on
if it's
like being
working
good at
and it's
basketball
still
first.
legal,
Yes, yeah,
right.
just that's what their vibe is, and I like it. I'm here for it.
Same. All here for it. All right, high key. Monday night, Jimmy Butler scored a playoff high 40 points, and the Heat came away with a W in Game 1 over the Bucks. Low key, Miami is going to be representing the East in the NBA Finals. Hooray for joy!
The Heat is on, Donnie. Yes.
I feel it.
Everyone's on the Heat bandwagon. Come on board. We're not haters.
Yeah,
You can join
I'm
the
here.
Heat
I'm here
bandwagon
for it.
anytime you like. We are accepting stragglers. It's fine. I'm still gonna be cautiously optimistic. I watched that entire first game with total dread. They look
As
great.
any true fan would.
I don't want to over exaggerate one game. I know everyone has gone really crazy in these playoffs. One loss in a 7-game series. Look, the Bucks are still great. All right, like everyone just needs to pump the brakes. I love the Heat. Of course, I would love the Heat to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals, and I would love to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Got to get past the Bucks first, right? So let's just everyone just calm
Don't get too
down.
excited.
Get too excited. I enjoyed it. I am gonna have my 2 days of happiness, and then we got to do it a couple more times. But I will say,
Right.
Jimmy Butler looked great. And we were talking to Corey Brewer earlier on the podcast. He likes the Heat too because they are a team. And that is one thing about the Heat. They're going to play together. They're going to have each other's back. They're tough. They play defense. They've got great shooters. It's not going to be easy for the Bucks. And Giannis still has the capability, obviously, of going off. But they gave him some trouble, and I loved what I saw from the Heat. The one thing I will say about the Bucks, though, that I find interesting, and this is why I don't trust them to win the championship at all, is that when things start to unravel for the Bucks, they really unravel. Like it just starts to get messy,
Turnovers,
and the energy gets down, and it's like there's no perseverance factor with the Bucks, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like that's
Start to crumble.
They start to crumble, and it's like, dude, just get it together. It's like
pace
one
yourself
thing. Like Giannis is getting stripped on back-to-back plays. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So I don't like that about the Bucks long term into the playoffs. But I loved what I saw from the Heat, and I am really looking forward to the rest of the series.
All right, high key LSU's Jamar Chase chose to opt out of his junior season in prep for the 2021 NFL Draft. Low key, this could be the start of a trend of the tippy top prospects in college football.
I do low key think it will be a trend. I don't think it'll last forever though. I think it will start. It's going to obviously start now because there's a lot of questions with college football, if we're even going to have a season. A lot of debate about whether it's worth it to play spring football and all these things. If you're a top prospect, I don't hate the idea of you opting out. I never had a problem with guys sitting out bowl games. Like if you're a top guy, then you're only in college to get to the NFL. So yeah, you should do whatever you can to ensure your draft position first of all, obviously. But once you know that you're going to be in the top 10 or first round, just
Yeah.
okay, protect yourself. Like, go train.
Mhm.
You're not really gaining too much from playing, and especially in a season like this. Now, in a regular season, you can
Exactly.
argue, you can improve your draft position. You're going to get more reps. Teams might see more of you, whatever. But like, generally, you just want to stay healthy, right? If you're already in that conversation. So that's why I think for the top prospects, and that's going to be a very small percentage, that yes, this may
Exactly.
continue. But I don't think it's going to become rampant. I don't think it's going to hurt college football the way that it's hurt college basketball with top prospects leaving, because there's just more football players, right? Like,
Exactly.
basketball has a very limited pool of the top guys that really only play 1 year and go into the NBA and are successful, right? Like, there's also a lot more options for NBA players if you aren't successful. Like, you can go play
Right.
internationally, so
Overseas.
there's right
Mhm.
G League. There's a lot more options. If you do this in the NFL, it doesn't work out.
The
That's
options are
kinda
a lot
it.
more limited.
Right.
Exactly.
So I don't think that people are going to be advised to do this very much. I don't think it's going to be rampant, but I do think we are going to see more top prospects, the top ones, sitting out for the season or declaring early. And I don't think it's anything to panic about. These kids were going to go to the NFL anyway. They're just protecting themselves. It's not going to hurt the sport of college football in any dramatic way. So I think it'll happen, but it's nothing to freak out about.
Yeah, chill.
Chill. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Appreciate you taking some time for us. Know it's crazy out there, but we appreciate you joining us and supporting. Make sure you follow us on all our social media pages at Maybe I'm Crazy Pod. Subscribe on YouTube, and you can listen to the podcast anywhere you listen to the podcast: Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartMedia app, Apple Podcasts. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next week.
Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.